Yeah. So you want to be like the go-to, the app that you think about whenever you think about check-ins and attendance. So we want to like build out something where it's like Calendly and like Zooms of the world. Like it's just so simple and basic. And anytime someone goes, hey, I have an event, or I don't know, like I'm going to church, or like I'm going to train for a gym, or I'm going to like classroom, like for example, to study a course or something, they just go, well, let's just use OneTap. The name is Calendly. Like it's like, hey, I want to send someone a link. We can't coordinate on a time. Send them a link. Same thing with OneTap. Let's just create a check-in process with the link, with the QR code, with the kiosk, and that is the go-to thing for this app. Yeah. Sometimes the benchmark is like it doesn't suck. I'm not saying everyone should go for that because I don't want to give that type of advice, but for us, that's just what ended up. That's just what, like looking backwards, that's just where the dots connect.
Well, what advice would you give to other founders starting SaaS right now? I feel like since when you started, to me, it sounds like, wow, it's gotten so much more saturated. And then we've got AI has sort of made things easier, but not exactly. And yeah, what would you say to anyone who's starting a SaaS business in 2025? Karsh, welcome to Growth Stories. So happy to have you on the show. So you are the founder and the CEO of OneTap, which is an up-and-coming SaaS product. Can you tell us about, like, how did you discover that this was a valuable problem to go tackle?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it started whenever I was in the University of Toronto, whenever I was going to college over there. What had happened is that I was into the startup space because I had a childhood friend who just kept telling me like, hey, you got to do your own thing, don't work for other people. My parents just always just want me to go into like academics and stuff, like research and all that, just because of
Sorry,
like
Mom
their
and
Asian
Dad.
background. Yeah, just because of their Asian background, they're just like they just, for them that's like the standard of success. So what happened is that my friend was like, hey, you can't work for other people, and then like research doesn't pay you a lot of money. So we tried a lot of different things, like making a lot of different products. But the first product we made was called TeamSync. It's this little like, it's basically ESPN, but for like amateur sports and for high school sports, because we both
Mm-hmm.
like sports. But the problem that I personally ran into was working with friends. It just wasn't very professional. For example, people just
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be like, we wouldn't agree on times, we wouldn't agree on schedules, and like we had part-time jobs. So I kind of, during that summer, I learned iOS by myself and I built the app. But my friend that I was working with just couldn't put in 100% of his efforts. And there was this whole thing behind like, hey, I'm building stuff as an engineer,
Yeah.
but
And who
like it's
owns
not, no
it?
one's
And
using it. No one's using
yeah.
it. Yeah, no one's using it. We're building the stuff, and then like we're just sitting there like spending months on like doing like little technical things, and there's no real users.
Yeah.
So fast forward, whenever I was at the University of Toronto, what happened is that I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I wanted to like know the problem that I'm trying to solve before building it. So there was a girl that that was in my dorm at the time, and this was like summer school, and she worked for MLSE, which is a big company out of Toronto, which does the Toronto Raptors, Maple Leafs, TFC.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, hey, we're doing this on paper and pencil. We're doing sign-ins, physical sign-ins for visitors on paper and pencil. And we need this data because we got to know our retention numbers, like who's coming back, and it helps our sales. Also, it helps us know what our engagement is like inside of our membership program. And
Because it's like a
so
physical, like their membership, you have to go in. Yeah.
Yeah, physical members that have to go in. And she was like, hey, we're using other systems. But the problem at the time was that like they were charging per event. And it was like, that doesn't kind of make sense. And sometimes, especially with interns and stuff, they were like, well, the company was like, hey, we can just put interns on this, right? They could just do it because
Yeah.
it's just an efficient way to tackle the problem, cost efficient and time
Cheap
efficient.
flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Cheap labor. So the thing is that I was like, no, we should build an iOS app for this. And then the other interfaces looked outdated too. They're just
Mm-hmm.
really old. And so I was like, okay, I could just build an iOS app for these guys, just for these guys. And so I made a little wireframe. Well, I made a real prototype because I was an engineer. So I was like, hey, this is harder for me to do wireframing and prototype. At that time, we didn't have those easy tools. I was like, I could
Mm-hmm.
just build this in Xcode and storyboards. So I built it, and then like she was like, hey, I'll present this to the manager. Long story short, she did present it, and they were like, why don't you guys just like, well, let's just do a pilot. Why don't you guys come and do a demo? So me and one of my best friends just sat down, did an all-nighter right after exams, built it.
Like
And
now we
then that's
need
how
an
it started.
application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. That's a great story. So it's like a very funny way to get into a B2B situation.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you know somebody and then you saw a problem. And then how
Yeah.
has it gone since, like, from that point?
Yeah, so the early stages, it was obviously difficult because like first of all, we had a lot of technical problems at that time, right? This is like 2018 or something like that. We
Mhm.
didn't like, we were technically like the app had a lot of bugs and stuff. You had to fix all those for this specific person. But obviously in B2B, you have the challenge of like, hey, you built it for someone, who else is going to use it? That's just one
Yeah.
client, right? And
Yeah.
then you kind of get sucked in as well with like, hey, here's all the feature requests, and then here's all the stuff that they want.
And
So this is where the
not all of it
advice.
may match right across all the
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a common thing because when you look at this common startup advice, it's like, hey, study the customer and like follow everything. And we like fortunately for us, like it was just due to like laziness. We just weren't able to like ship everything. We're just like can't build all this stuff. You can't listen to one person. Just kind of just like we just kind of just we just tried our luck. We just put it on the app store, and other people started using it, and we were like, hey, maybe there's something else here. So there were a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people using it randomly for events and stuff. And the app was really crappy. It was just modified for one person, but then we just made it like for everyone else. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like product market fit, but there
Remove
were
their
like
name
enough like
everywhere.
one-off.
Control F.
Yeah. So we just made that, put it on the app store, and then like organically there were people using it for events, one-time type of stuff. And then we kind of just started to just, yeah, double down on that a little bit more, a little bit more. And then fast forward,
And
yeah, it just ended up working
what
out.
did you do to figure out like what elements were that didn't make any sense? Like what did you do to figure out what were the common features that were worth putting in more engineering time to make it actually have retention? Because I feel like you're telling it the story kind of modestly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
just did this and that. But then
Yeah.
if you just throw something up and it sucks, everyone churns, right? So what did you do to figure out what was actually the valuable part in there?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So the thing is that we just like we got like a little bit lucky, just like looking backwards. And honestly, all the founders will tell you that because there is a lot of luck involved, but obviously like there's skills in there too. We got a little bit lucky because the core thing was just simple, and we just want to do stuff fast. Because I'm just that type of person. I'm just like, let's just do stuff fast, right? Like let's not polish it too much. So we got a little bit lucky because the core interface was just like simple to use. We just drag and drop an Excel file, and it just shows up. And that ended up being like, even when we didn't build advanced features, we didn't try to like just do crazy things. Like our engineering was very basic. It's just the fact that it was simple. And on the
Mhm.
App Store, we just ranked for the word check-in app because this was like pre like 2018, 2019, where there wasn't a lot of competition. So we just kind of
Mhm.
just snuck in there where the people just look for these words like check-in app, and then the app would be simple enough to use. And they were like, this is what we need. We don't need anything more than that.
So was a couple of things. One is you were early kind of in the SEO, App Store SEO. Another part, the only way you can do that is to solve something that's extremely narrow. And then it sounds like you made the setup, like the time to activate must be very low. If they can just drag and drop something,
Right.
it means the customer is activating crazy fast,
Yeah.
which other people spend a lot of heartache trying to figure that
Yeah.
out. Like, why can't we get them to activate and come back?
Yeah. That's another thing, right? Like, I mean, everyone's story is different, but I feel like in my batch, when I saw my friends and other people, they were trying to build these complicated apps. And even just me as an engineer, I was like, hey, this is just like, we have this intuition as an engineering person, as a developer, even as a product person. We're like, that's just too small. That's like, who's going to pay for that? Like,
Yeah,
that's just so basic. Like,
too
it should be given
simple.
away for free. But the thing is that I feel like a lot of the best apps just keep it that simple. Like, Zoom has the same interface that's been around for a long time.
Mhm.
And it's just that one click and it opens up and you join and just the
It's too
internet doesn't drop.
complicated. It's
Yeah,
already
it
Zoom
doesn't
is already
suck.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the
Yeah.
benchmark is like it doesn't suck. I'm not saying everyone should go for that because I don't want to give that type of advice. But for us, that's just what ended up like that's just what like looking backwards, that's just where the dots connect.
Yeah. So what is your vision for the future for OneTap Check-in?
Yeah. So you want to be like the go-to, the app that you think about whenever you think about check-ins and attendance. So we want to like build out something where it's like Calendly and like Zooms of the world. Like it's just so simple and basic. And anytime someone goes, hey, I have an event, or I don't know, like I'm going to church, or like I'm going to train for a gym, or I'm going to like classroom, like for example, to study a course or something. They just go, well, let's just use OneTap. It's the same as Calendly. Like it's like, hey, I want to send someone a link. We can't coordinate on a time. Send them a link. Same thing with OneTap. Let's just create a check-in process with the link, with the QR code, with the kiosk, and that is the go-to thing for this app. Yeah.
And so in the future, it sounds like if there's other, integrations or like other things, you're keeping it dead simple. This is only for the really common, simplest use case. We want to check
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, that's the thing because I feel like with integrations, we did do a lot of research, and again, because of our just kind of laziness and not having enough resources, we didn't invest a lot in integrations. But we found that like a lot of our customer segments and our user base, the type of people that we reach is just like sometimes brick and mortar, like just one person, like hey, just a founder that's like, hey, I want to open up a shop, the physical shop. It's just such a like on the technology spectrum, it's such a like a casual technology user that
Mhm.
they just don't even care about that. There's people
They
that want
don't
to
need a
figure around the
Salesforce
thing.
integration.
They don't need it. Yeah. We've had a lot of customers ask. We've had like, for example,
Yeah.
big people use it, such as like Yale University, like Stanford,
Yeah.
like some really big names use it. But they do need it. But I feel like this use case and like how this product fits in together into their workflow, a lot of people just want that the simplicity and the easiness more than the I need that
Yeah.
integration.
It's always
Yeah.
a trade-off. You always are giving up simplicity, which
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to see that.
Yeah.
Well, are you comfortable talking about revenue numbers?
Sure.
So great. I'm just curious. So where can we talk about, what was that first year like and versus where you are today?
Right. So roughly speaking, like we were able to monetize it before, like very early. So with the first client, like with the first enterprise client, like we were able to make money off that. And then afterwards, when we launched in the app store, we just added like in-app payments, so we were able to collect money with that. But yeah, for the
Mhm.
longest time, we were stuck at like the 2K MRR, 3K MRR. Right now, we're at like 30K MRR, and yeah, it's been like kind of organically growing slowly, but we're still like obviously working on figuring out churn, retention, and all that to make it grow
Yeah,
faster.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So it's just solving a simple problem. And so one question I have just thinking about it is churn. I'm just guessing. Tell me if this is true. It sounds like I'm guessing that churn would be a difficult kind of thing to figure out because I imagine some people are using this for a one-off task and they're never going to retain them, you know,
Right.
versus specific use case, like you said, a classroom, or maybe it's like, I don't know, I'm imagining like a sales team, like a in-person thing, and they want who's here on time or whatever it is. How are you able to figure out what's causing churn?
So first of all, when it comes to churn, I feel like me and like a lot of founders, we just think about it as like, hey, we're not at that golden number, so like we're like something's really wrong, right? But the reality is that every industry and every business, first of all, has different types of churn. So like for example, when you have like for example in low end SMB B2B SaaS product, like if you're below like I believe the number is like basically 6% is like a good number for like a SMB SaaS, like a low end, and then 7 to 8% is like is acceptable as long as you're not in the double digits. It means that there's not something awfully wrong. But the thing is that like so we kind of fall like in that range, right? So the other thing is that like for yeah, when it comes to active strategy, what you can do is you can position the product towards a recurring use case. So for example, we found out that courses are important, courses and classes where attendance is for compliance and stuff, is for like legal reasons, has a
Hmm.
little bit of a higher weight because people go, okay, we
I
have to take
have to.
attendance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns more into like, hey, I would like to have to. So that's one. So targeting clients like that. Another thing is just to like just do like the simple stuff better. So like even for events and stuff, and then they'll just keep coming back. So even though they might
Hmm.
churn for month one, they'll just come back next year. They'll be like, hey, next time I have an
Oh,
event, I'll
that
go to
thing.
OneTap. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we get a lot of people that just come to our demos and they're like, hey, I used it last year, I used it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I only used it once, but I'm back. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, what advice would you give to other founders starting SaaS right now? I feel like since when you started, it to me, it sounds like, wow, it's gotten so much more saturated. And then we've got AI has sort of made things easier, but not exactly. And yeah, what would you say to anyone who's starting a SaaS business in 2020?
It's such a big advice because like the thing is that I think like for me, like I'm working backwards. Like, I just go, hey, I was an engineer and now I have to put on this hat, like becoming a founder. That was kind of difficult because I feel like when it comes to like generic advice, like I used to listen to a lot of those. It
Yeah.
doesn't really work because there's just so many things that are just like
Yeah.
specific to that one solution, to your company,
Yeah.
to your business. And like there's a lot of rules you can break. For example, like when I started off, everyone was like, no, you gotta raise money. You gotta be working at your desk 24/7. And then there's like this whole thing of like, hey, you can have remote companies. And then like everyone can just be distributed in like 40 different countries and like
Yeah.
building something great. Then it's like, hey, you don't even need to raise the money. Bootstrap is like the cool thing. Then it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I was like, hide all your metrics. And now it's like, okay, just share all the metrics. Just build in public. Just share like
Yeah.
literally all the secrets. So all the rules that I know have been kind of broken. So I feel like the biggest thing that I would tell like founders is that like you got to have like critical thinking skill where you like listen to everyone, but at the same time you go, no, like I think this is something different. And you got to be able to bet on yourself to go, hey, I'll try something different. And you got to be able to stick to it. That's the hardest thing with founders. It happens with me too. It's like where we go, no, I just, I have a conviction that I want to do this, but someone else has something else and you're just like flipping every month. That's probably the biggest kind of
Yeah.
meta level things that kind of affect your ability to like get something off the ground.
That's great advice, especially sticking to it because I imagine there are so many founders out there that get a SaaS to like 1 million, sorry, 1,000 ARR, like just,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm saying the wrong
1000
number,
MRR.
1,000 MRR. It's somebody's using it now. And then it's depressing. Like, why is it still at 1,000 and they
Yeah.
switch, and then it's like, start again. So Yeah, I'm sure that's a huge part of your success. Is
Actually,
that
I would say, yeah, I'd probably say like strategy wise is like I think it's a must that you have to stick with something like just have to for at least 2 or 3 years. There's this whole culture of like just do stuff fast, like break things, and that was actually really big problem because a lot of people end up. I think most people, if you talk to them, they'll just end up with a lot of regret. They'll be like, "Hey, I wish I didn't kill this thing, or I wish I'd stuck with it." And it's one of
Mhm.
those things you just have to stay in the game. Like even if you're like losing, even if you're having a lot of problems, burning money, that type of stuff, you just gotta stick with it. Because anything that's worthwhile is just gonna take that much time.
Yeah, you gotta go through the suck.
Yeah. There's just no
Yeah.
other way around it. It's one of those things where there's just no advice, there's no golden, like there's just like no golden ticket, there's no silver bullets. Just have to. Like, even if it's the worst day, like if it's the worst day of your startup, I don't know, your service is just down, you're getting hacked, clients are canceling, just have to just go watch Netflix, just go chill out, but don't quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Procrastinate on quitting. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. Well, I really appreciate the conversation. And so if anyone needs attendance software, where should they go? Like what's what
OneTapcheckin.com.
there we go. All right, thanks
Yeah.
so much.